What if your jewelry could tell its own story, where it came from, what it's made of, and why it matters? Welcome back to Platinum ABC. Today, we're going to talk about the future of luxury. On one hand, there are increasing consumer protection regulations on the rise, like CSRD, Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive in Europe, where companies are reporting their ESG performance as well as responsible sourcing of materials. On the other hand, luxury brands and international maisons are bringing on board blockchain technology such as digital product passports to not just prove authenticity, but creating value for consumers beyond the product. For jewelry, it's definitely so much more than just compliance. It's about turning a piece of jewelry into a long-term relationship. And that's where really interesting propositions happen, not only for the consumers, but also for the retailers and producers and everyone in the supply chain to narrate design and craftsmanship as part of the journey and turning jewelry into a consumer experience in purchase and in ownership. Today, it's a pleasure to have Phil Romans, Head of Global Business Development at Platinum Guild International, and Margot Stewart, co-founder of Original, to talk about a program they introduced into the trade that is going to lead the way with how jewelry is sold and experienced. Welcome, Phil. Welcome, Margot.
Thank you, Tom.
Hi, it's Scott.
So, Phil, if we can just jump right in, please tell us about the platform you developed, Platinum Guild Circle, what it does, and why we need it now.
Yeah, Platinum Guild Circle is a platform for the jewelry industry developed by PGI. It's designed to drive profitable growth at all levels throughout the ecosystem. So for manufacturers, for designers, for retailers, and for groups. It relies on three areas. We provide content, we provide digital product passports or DPPs, and we'll talk about much more about those later. And we provide information and we connect people. The first and foremost thing that we set out to do was to drive sales of platinum jewelry. And what we've ended up doing is finding a way to drive jewelry sales per se.
So in a sense, the value is in both the backstory of the jewelry and also really in the retail and the sales end of it. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works? And I think that the previous question is why now?
Yeah, why now? We've got massive challenges with authenticity and trust that we're seeing. So that we know from the consumer research that we've done that trust and authenticity is a massive area of opportunity. So when we look at the regulation that's coming, so across the EU, we're seeing that DPPs are going to be required from 2027. We've seen that in other markets, in other categories, that where DPPs or where transparency has been brought on board, that has resulted in higher sales, higher level of trust. And if we look at trust in the jewelry industry, particularly in fine jewelry, is one of the key drivers that leads to higher sales. So if we look at what happened in the bags market, if luxury bags market, we look at 20 years ago, the sales were around about $10 billion. If you look at that market now, it's $80 billion. So an eightfold increase across 20 years. Now, that's money that could be going into jewelry, but it's going into that market. And there's some really good reasons why it's going into that market. They put authenticity at the center of their offer. So if you buy a luxury bag, you know that it's got tracking, it's got traceability, and because of that, it's going to retain its value, and you're going to be able to resell that bag. And so that leads to a massive amount of trust. They've also linked that with utilizing digital channels through social media to make it far more accessible and interesting.
Absolutely. If I can actually recap a little bit, just to see if I'm understanding this correctly. The digital product passport is telling authenticity. There's function that really brings the story back to authenticity. And is that the value that it's delivering to the retail? in terms of developing trust, or is there more to the layers of what Digital Product Passport can offer?
There's more to it. So we have two things going on, really. We have the Platinum Guild Circle app, and we have a Digital Product Passport. Digital Product Passport is totally tailorable, so it can be branded for the retailer or the designer, and can go out with that. And what it is, the DPP is a digital record that gives you authenticity, provenance, and trust, all in a digital record. One of the great ways that we've had it explained to us, we had a call with the Clear Cut in New York. The Carl Simon referred to the DPP as a jewelry box in your pocket. And that's a wonderful way of explaining it, because it's a great way of pulling that all together. There's multiple ways that you can use a DPP. So it pulls together all of your information about the history, the design, and the authenticity. So that could be the original design that was done by a designer, and that can be time-stamped so that we are able to track that through time. I know that we had a lot of excitement when we were down in Melbourne at the jewelry fair from designers down there who were struggling with their designs being stolen and wanted to ensure that they retained them. It also can provide certification so that you can have your GIA, your tracer, your provenance proof, whatever certification goes with it. Hopefully in time we'll also have platinum traceability on there. You also have your story. Stories sell. Everybody loves a good story and wants to understand, what is the story of this piece? Where does it come from? What was it inspired by? Why am I buying it? Why is it special? And so all of that can be added in alongside things like receipts, warranties, so that you basically have everything that you would get in paper format in a digital record that's so much easier to carry around with you and show to other people. One of the great things, and I'll let Margot add on in a second, but one of the great things about a Digital Product Passport from BGC is it is transferable. So we transfer it through the chain. So if it starts with a manufacturer or a designer, it gets transferred to a retailer. The retailer can update that Digital Product Passport and add any specific information about it, and then that can be transferred to the customer. So the customer receives it. They receive it instantaneously. It takes literally a second to transfer by mobile phone, and you receive it onto the PGC app, and you have that there as your record, or you can transfer that on to something. So if you've bought that you bought a piece of jewelry as a present, you can transfer it on to the recipient, and that will always be tracked.
And does that work like a blockchain technology? Or is it fused with blockchain technology on that front?
Margot, do you want to answer that?
Yes, I can take that question. Thanks, Tak. So the PGC DPP platform is what we call blockchain ready. It aggregates the different technologies that third-party providers have when it comes to traceability. So, for example, today we work with Tracer, GIA, IGI, provenance proof, and many others to come. The case of, I would say, Tracer is a good one to show that this blockchain ready element is there and working. So they provide the blockchain through their solution, but we are connected to their solution and are able to then showcase to the consumer the whole diamond journey from rough to polished. Phil also mentioned an auditable trail where, for example, designers can timestamp their designs or the creation of certain of the elements of their piece of jewelry. This one is not blockchain enabled as such, but it is chronologically and immutably recorded. Again, blockchain is great, but you need to know when and how to use it. And that's why we always prefer working with the providers who excel in that specific area and aggregate their technologies. And that's really what this DPP platform is about. You have to kind of imagine building a Lego, and you're just building on all these different components that really make a beautiful piece of jewelry. And part of these components are these technology different technologies, different grading reports, different elements that bring a piece of jewelry to life.
I'm glad you mentioned that technology, because when Phil was first talking about the DPP, it looked like an array of different Lego blocks in front of me. Just there's so many components to it, right? I think I picked up just a few. If I could just recap to see if I got this right, it has authentication, and part of that could be in the form of certification. It has the possibility and the function of origin and traceability. That then goes back to responsible sourcing and possibly ESG practices. Then we talked about storytelling, about the design, about production and the supply and the whole jewelry making journey. That could be part of it. And finally, there's transactions and transfer and blockchain ready that can encompass all of this. If I can just backtrack even a little bit further, because there's so much to unpack. Phil, if you can explain, Platinum Guild Circle is this DPP platform, or Platinum Guild Circle is a program that is DPP, but also goes beyond that to bring value to our retail partners. Can you explain a little bit more on how that works?
Sure. We touched on the digital product passport, and we'll come back and we'll do a demo later. And I think that'll be incredibly helpful to see it. Really, when we look at the Platinum Guild Circle, it is a network, and we are looking to recruit the top manufacturers, the top designers, and the top retailers to work with us. Within that, yes, they get access to the digital product passports, they get access to the content management system, but what they also get is insights and news. So they get insights into what's happening within Platinum. What else can we do to help? They get access to future events. They get access to news. They get access to trending. Effectively, what we're offering is a channel for CRM as well. So the DPP itself acts as a transfer of value and of information, but is updatable over time. And so as we go through time, you can put updates in there. You put a new piece of information on there. Oh, you might be interested in this new collection, that the customer will get a notification on their app, and it'll say, hey, you got some new information on your app, on your digital product passport. So come and have a look. So if, for instance, they bought an engagement ring, then the natural assumption going forward is that they will be in the market for a wedding ring or wedding bands in the future. So we can start to put on there, these are the wedding bands that we would recommend to go with this. These are the anniversary products that we'd recommend to go with this. So it gives us a way to retain information and to share information going forward with the customer. If we look at the in-store element of this, then one of the things that it gives us is the ability for new sales staff to be able to look up information, or even existing sales staff to be able to look up information. They could actually scan the piece there. You could scan the barcode, you could scan a QR code. That would then link into the digital product passport, and it'll give you all of the back information about it. So where was it designed? Where did it come from? What's the story? What was the inspiration? What certification does it have? How was it made? All of that information will be at your fingertips. So somebody who's started work at 10 o'clock in the morning on their first day, and they get asked a question about a piece that they've never seen, will actually have that information available.
That's a very helpful tool for salespeople, because with especially so many pieces and every piece of them unique, if they have the information at their fingertips, they're able to present that information across the counter. That can really elevate the consumer experience. Yeah, in-store experience, definitely.
Yeah, and we see it as an opportunity to help sales staff, to help associates with greater information. And by doing that, we see that as a way to improve conversion and closes. So how do we make more sales? We have better information and we're able to help.
That definitely brings a lot of value to the retailer, because I think it's that confidence the salespeople can have with that information, that interaction, that it's It's honestly an elevated sort of sales experience from what we're commonly used to across the counter. The interaction and engagement with the digital asset. I think all of this does actually improve the consumer's understanding of a jewelry piece at the purchase point, but also to let them know that they can take this home with them with their jewelry. And this is something that it's ongoing, definitely does build a relationship between it, the purchase and the jewelry. And this, as you were saying, it's part of that. Is this part of the CRM, or does the CRM go deeper? Because one of the questions I have is, if I'm the retailer and we're partnering, is there a way, for example, if my customers bought something from me and they sign on to the DPP within their app, can I, as a retailer, be able to use the platform to engage with them? Am I able to use the CRM system to upload additional products to prompt my customers to come back to the store to check new things? Like, how does that aspect work?
Yeah, I'll give you the short answer to that, which is yes, it does, because the retailer has access to the content management system. So we have a content management system that the manufacturer will upload the original piece, or the designer will, and it'll be transferred to the retailer. The retailer can then access the content management system themselves and add any specific information. They could actually add things like the history of the store, because that's incredibly valuable in building trust. It's an incredibly flexible tool, so you can add all of that. When we're saying, can they contact the customer? Yes. Any update they make to a DPP that's already been transferred to a customer will show up in a notification to that customer, and they will see, hey, time to come in for a evaluation, or here's a new piece, or here's a new collection that you might be interested in. Or we can give them access to the promotions and events, and they can share information that way. So two ways, really.
So it can actually behave as a tool to communicate with the customers, with news, events, as you're saying, also promotion, not only marketing, deeper level of relationship that can be built through this app with the consumers or with my customers. Okay. Wow. That's exciting, because then you're bringing back the traffic, you're bringing really post-sales opportunities. Okay. Yeah,
If I may?
that's really strong value for the retailer. Please, Margot. Yeah.
I'd love to just add an additional benefit for the retailers, that today, when you're thinking of the second-hand market, most retailers lose contact with the second, third owner of the piece of jewelry. Thanks to the DPP, you get to retain a relationship, and you gain the extra customer, which once the current owner of the piece of jewelry decides, okay, now it's time for me to pass it on to my next of kin or sell it, that next customer stays in relationship with the retailer. And that's something quite unique, and something that has come from a lot of the learnings we've had with the second-hand watch industry, which is huge. And where a lot, unfortunately, of the watchmakers have failed, unfortunately, to be able to capture these second, third, fourth-hand customers. And thanks to the PGC DPP platform, you're actually allowing the retailers to be able to connect with these and gain extra consumers, customers throughout the life cycle of the piece
that's
of jewelry.
great. That's great. I have a whole piece of paper here writing down all the pieces of Lego blocks and all the functions and all the stuff, and I'm trying to put this all together. But before we go back into a recap of all these Lego blocks, can we go into a little bit of description of how all this is built? Margot, will you be able to take us through some of that?
So it's actually, I would say, it's not rocket science, as I mentioned. It's very much like a Lego construction. Our expertise comes from having previously built similar identification, authentication platforms for Interpol and the World Customs Organization. So what people can feel very reassured about is the CMS access is permission-based. Different players have different accesses to the CMS, ensuring that we start with, if possible, the manufacturer, so that this is the trusted origin of the piece of jewelry. They have an access that allows them to start off the DPP, enter as much information as they have and they would like at that point, and then For example, the retailer is then invited to come and enhance the content of the DPP. They cannot alter what the manufacturer, they can't tamper, they can't change anything that has been inputted by the manufacturer, but they can come and enrich the storytelling elements. We have what we call the public generic information, and this is information that is readily available to anyone browsing the platform. As Phil mentioned, this is great for sales assistants to be able to go in and really make sure they're getting the best elements of storytelling, craftsmanship, everything that aligns with what their customer is looking for. But once the DPP is transferred, the owner gets to unlock what we call the specific data layer. And this is all the bespoke, very much specific information that is associated to that one specific piece of jewelry, right? Retailers are going to sell maybe 250 or 25,000 pieces of that same ring, but each ring, in fact, is unique. And that specific layer unlocks this specific, unique information that the customer can then go and really feel reassured if there's any grading certificates, traceability links, any also bespoke storytelling elements that are kind of secret or that you just want your customer to know about, you can store it in that space, including post-sale elements like receipts, certificates of authenticity, appraisals, and should, through the life cycle of that piece of jewelry, suddenly a stone or needs to be replaced or the band needs to be resized, the specific element side of the DPP is a great place to be able to register all these changes so that, again, everything is contained in one wallet or one unique space. And again, retaining the value
one app
of
in
the
the
piece
phone.
and retaining always the value of the piece of jewelry. And should there be an enhancement made to the piece of jewelry later on, very useful then to be able to communicate with insurance companies and other third parties that help you along those lines.
And we talked a lot about what it can do. Is there a demo where we can see what that interface is and how those functions are actually presented in this platform?
Absolutely. Let me share my screen and let's deep dive.
Cool.
This is the DPP platform. So it is a B2C. So this is really intended for consumers to be able to visualize what's happening and be able to educate themselves on jewelry and platinum jewelry in particular. So as Phil mentioned, when you arrive on the first screen, you get to see the different events, the different. You can see here, it's a real showcasing page for retailers to be able to bring themselves forward. They can promote themselves and
you can have
showcase
banners.
Different promotions, see what's going on. And again, also for designers and others, you're able to showcase all the news about what's going on.
So this is what I see as a consumer when I get on this app. Okay.
Absolutely. And each time you can click on it, find out more information, go to external links, again, allowing really to educate and make sure that consumers are up to date with the latest in the jewelry industry. Then we have.
So just one question. Sorry, one question. If I'm a consumer, I'm downloading the app and I have Platinum Gilt Circle, but I go to multiple jewelers. Are multiple jewelers in my area able to push their different events and news onto the same platform? So how would that look?
I think that the vision, and Phil, please correct me, but the vision of the PGC DPP platform is truly industry collaboration. It's allowing retailers to be able to showcase and promote themselves through a common platform, also trying to avoid consumers to have to download individual applications for every retailer, which then brings kind of technology tiredness to consumers and a lot of confusion. So here, the idea is really to have this one space where customers can see their own products that they're through their own wallet, but also start to explore what else is out there.
And so the news events and the trending and the pictures, these are all almost like global collaborative archive of news that's going to get pushed into
These are all
Platinum Guild
PGC
Circle.
members.
I got it. Okay, I see. Understood. Okay.
So if you look
And
at
what's
the
this-
time, that area will be open. And so you're going to see a lot of different information within that area. The DPPs themselves are where it's specific to individual manufacturers and or retailers. So if a retailer wants to have a branded DPP, that's very easily done. Content management system allows you to set up your own brand colors, your own brand fonts, and your own imagery within there. And so the retailer would have full access to that, and the DPP itself, which is the piece that is specific to the jewelry item, would be specific to an individual retailer.
I got it. So this open platform is managed by Platinum Guild International that is running Platinum Guild Circle.
Yes. Yeah. It's managed
Got
by
it.
Platinum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And the DPP, the digital product passport within the app is also accessible through this platform then. Is it one of those icons on the lower
Here in
on the lower
trending,
side of the screen? In the
you
trending.
can see the DPPs that have been created on the platform, and then you can just click on it and you can access what we call the generic information, so publicly available information on a piece of jewelry.
I see.
So here you can see this is one of PGC's members. She's a young jeweler in Birmingham, Harley Paris, who makes very, very nice things. And so this is what any person who downloads the app can access. And now I'm going to show you when you are the rightful owner of a piece of jewelry, you go into
Yes.
the second tab where it's my wallet of DPPs. And I'm going to now showcase you the piece we had.
My,
prepared
you
for
own
the
a lot of
workshop.
jewelry.
I'm very lucky. So again, in this case, because I own it, you can see now that I can actually toggle from generic data to specific data. So again, generic data, as Phil mentioned, you need an image, you need a title,
A name,
and
you
a
need a
short
title.
description. And
Description, yeah.
there you go, your DPP is created. If you have a serial number, you can of course upload it. And if you don't, the platform will automatically generate one. And why is this important? Because this is one of the basic requirements from the EU regulation, is that every single piece of jewelry has its own unique identifier. So this is a very important
Its own
element.
certification number. Yeah.
And so the platform can automatically generate it for you if you don't already have one. And then again,
So just to stop you for a second, there's it says made in Australia. Is that part of the traceability, and how far does that go
so
into origin?
yeah, it's a very good question. So the way the platform is built is every person or every entity who inputs data is responsible and is the owner of that information. So PGC doesn't act as a regulator, but as an enabler and facilitator of information. So when you ask me made in Australia, we take it that the manufacturer, when he entered the data, is being truthful, and that's the information. And that's where the DPP is interesting, is you can say this, and then the idea is you have now all the room in the world to come and justify and support your claims. And that's what the DPP is also about. And so here you'll see in this case, we have some more technical information that has been provided. Again, we're in the generic information, so publicly available information. So it usually stays quite high-level information and more consumer-facing, consumer-engaging, wanting to be more on the marketing side. You can, of course, insert videos so that you can give more information. Here you have some more details substantiated by images about the diamond itself, and of course.
And these are content that's these are content that's uploaded by the retailer in association with their supplier.
It can be, again, you can give different accesses to the different parties involved in the creation of a piece of jewelry. So in these cases, you would give access first and foremost to the manufacturer, because he's who's actually building the piece of jewelry. And then you would give access to the retailer, who can come and build more storytelling elements, more content about the piece of jewelry. In the case of a designer, where they might be doing the entire work from A to Z, they would have the unique CMS entry, and so they would be able to just keep entering more information. But you can give as many levels of entry to the CMS. Again, it's all on a permission basis. This is all authorized and checked. This is not just a one-off password that everyone gets. This is well curated and well managed by PGC to ensure the conformity and respected accesses to the platform.
Because if I'm a retailer, I already see my buying team and my marketing team fighting for space on the platform.
And definitely give them each an access and redefine what each one will bring into the platform. And now we're going into the specific data. So in a hidden layer of the DPP that only gets to see. And in this case, wanted to push forward that they are a member of the RJC. They even sent me a personal message here, starting with Dear Margot, just to tell me and making sure I get my next discount next time I come into and purchase something with them. I also get to see any documents that are available.
And that's where invoices and receipts and certifications can all go in here.
Yeah. And in my case now, I get to see a little bit more information on the materials used and the size of my ring. And so in this case, we have a diamond and we have a pearl. So for the pearl, we have the GIA certificate. And as you can see, it goes to the GIA website, because what we really want is that the information is always originates from the source, the trusted source of information. And this is really important to be able to build this trust with consumers, to be able to show them. And just
and you have all the links and accessibility within this one wallet, digital wallet.
Absolutely. Got it. So in this case, it goes onto the Tracer platform. This is blockchain enabled, and you can now, as a consumer, start to understand the amazing journey from rough to polished that the diamond went through. And this is extremely useful if you ever need to replace the stone at any point. You can then just go back to the retailer, and this makes their life so much easier. They have every hand. And let's say you've moved to a different continent or a different country, so you're not being able to go to the same retailer. Well, that new retailer will be able, or jeweler will be able to help you. So, and we've added a little, always consumer educational video so that they also understand. Part of this platform, like I said, is very much industry collaboration. It's also creating consumer awareness for responsible practices, for traceability, to better understand the origin and the value of having a grading certificate, of having these technologies being brought to you. It's really important, and we see we're very much still at ground zero when it comes to educating the consumers. So we're hoping that with such a platform, we're going to have a nice leap step to a much different level of knowledge from the consumers to make educated decisions.
Absolutely. I think there's in fact a lot to be done, not just education, but I think we covered a little bit about this, is the experience and the understanding of the jewelry journey, how every piece is actually made by hand. And there's a level of craftsmanship involved. That jewelry, it's not like buying a digital clock. A lot of it is done by hand by a particular artisan. And that has a very specific unique design direction or unique design concept, then all that story really needs to be told. And I think in the past, it's just, unless it's like a major maison masterpiece that sits on the red carpet or the Oscars, otherwise there's not a lot you read about a piece of jewelry. But every piece of jewelry actually does have a story worth telling on its own. And this platform just brings that forward. That's amazing.
It brings it to life, and it allows consumers to also talk about it themselves, not just educate themselves, but then tell their next thing, all the story related to it. I'll just finish so that you can just see. We spoke about how we can help sales assistants in the shop. And so as you can see, we have here a search function. So you can scan here the barcode, of course. But let's say your consumer says, oh, I'm looking for something blue. Well, you can start looking up what on the platform do we have that would be blue, and you can pull up the DPP and start showcasing what's available.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So one element. And Phil mentioned, so the whole consumer engagement through promotions, through events, but then there's also the layer where we can send alerts. We can send pings to each consumer. It can be specific to the consumer who actually bought a piece of jewelry, and we have an enhancement to their DPP. Or retailers can also spread news on a much wider base through an alert, making sure everyone in the community or through a geographical region can be alerted by a new event or a new collection coming out or so on. And this element here also allows you to have full traceability of all the changes that have happened in your DPPs, which is also very important for you as a customer. And then the last element that I think is interesting is the transferability, right? So Phil mentioned that it's a very seamless, they put big pressure on us, Phil and his team, to make sure that at the point of sale, this was going to be a seamless, effortless, and timeless step to be able to give your customer their DPP right in their pocket or on their phone instantaneously. And we've worked really hard, and it's we've actually
you kind of figured out.
It. And it takes,
nice.
I think, 3 seconds once you've found a piece of jewelry. It's really easy.
Wow.
The main element is you need to have your customer's mobile phone number, and that's all you need to. And once you own the piece of jewelry, you also have the freedom to transfer the piece of jewelry to your next of kin or to the next owner if you decide to sell that piece of jewelry. And as you can see, you need to select the piece of jewelry, enter the next person's phone number, push next, and off it goes. So again, a very easy piece, function to make sure that you can transfer with ease. And then the last element is, of course, being able to keep traceability on your transfers. And as you can see, nowhere does my name appear. Here does the name of the next owner appear. We've been very cautious to respect GDPR
privacy
and data policy. And so at every step, in fact, your identity is transformed into a unique identifier that cannot be decrypted, and so ensuring anonymity throughout the process.
Wonderful. As a consumer, I think this is a very exciting platform. There's a lot of different functions that enables me to browse, get access to news, and have a digital certification for my purchase and traceable transfers. As a retailer, I have tons of questions. I'm going to start asking some of these questions a little bit off script. So as a retailer, how much work do I have to do to get this running, to update it, do I have to do that with every piece of my jewelry? How much work is required of me if I'm a retailer to be on this program?
It depends, is the honest answer, because it depends what you want to put onto your DPP. If you look at, say you are buying from a manufacturer and that manufacturer is sending you finished product, then you could literally just transfer that finished product because it would have a DPP with it. If you want to add further information in, you can add further information in. As you set up your content management system, it will be set up for your branding. So it will be branded. We can set up bulk upload information so that we don't have to do each piece individually. We could do it from an Excel spreadsheet. We could do it from an API connection into your website or your host provider and actually use all of that information. That's actually the way that we've set up most of them so far. So it will be a pretty painless exercise.
Okay. And the second question is, I'm sitting in Hong Kong, and if there's a retailer in my part of the world is interested, are they able to sign on to this program, or is it right now running globally or selective regions?
Yeah, we just launched the pilot in Australia, and we're up and running with the manufacturing partners, design partners, and retail partners. And so we're using that as our test case. If you have a retailer or a manufacturer in China, this is a globally available platform. It is available now. We are in this year looking to, we're already in talks with retailers and manufacturers in the US, the UK, Germany, Australia, as we talked about, but we are also talking to other continents as well, and we're keen to extend as much as possible.
So Australia was the pilot launch market. Can you share a little bit about what the sentiments were? What are some of the key questions they asked?
Yeah, we had a very positive reaction to the PGC and digital product passports. I think you, of course, don't get a universal reaction. There are some people who, before you can get the word digital out of your mouth, will actually reject. But the vast majority have been very positive. One of the things that was really noticeable at the Melbourne Jewellery Fair, where we did a workshop and then had a stand, was how excited designers were about the potential to work with something that showed their work and was able to capture that through the process. And so we were actually talking about the opportunity to start the DPP with the design, and then that getting transferred to a manufacturer, and then that getting transferred to a retailer. I do think that every single time we have spoken to somebody, or whether that's a retailer, manufacturer, or a designer, we've ended up adding something to what we would like to offer, because everybody sees it slightly differently. They want, can you add this branding? How could I've got 4,000 pieces of stock? How do I download those easily? And so all of these questions we're going through and answering.
Any other insights coming in from Melbourne, or anything that you're immediately working on next?
Coming in from Melbourne, specifically, we picked up lots and lots of conversations with manufacturers. That was probably the thing that we were most impressed by, manufacturers and designers, how quickly they said, oh, I can see this opportunity. We're also looking at how do we work from the responsibility aspect in terms of the potential is here for this, not just to be about individual stores, individual pieces, but about the industry. And how do we improve trust across the entire ecosystem? And if we can drive trust, I think in Melbourne, it was great in that there were a number of speakers, and every speaker that I saw actually talked about trust as being a key driver in both the retail experience and in the customer experience. And so if we can drive trust by having a platform that pulls together all of the information, then we're going to help the industry. And so that to me was probably the most exciting thing, to see how aligned everybody is, but we just need that tool to be able to move forward.
Absolutely. I think I was also only seeing it from one perspective, starting from the retailer end, because this ultimately brings so much value to the retail front and how they engage and build an experience with the customers. But yeah, as you're saying, it could also build from another level. You start with the designers and manufacturers. They're doing their ESG reporting, right? They're showing the responsible sourcing reporting in through the PGC and putting their products out there. And that could potentially help them have a retail outlet to pick up their work and then onto down the supply chain journey. So it could actually work from many different levels. And yes, it's all from bringing everybody on a common platform and people with this common vision of responsible sourcing, of transparency, of creating this unique jewelry production and artisanship journey. Everyone who is or wants to play a part with that story can all come together through this platform. That's really exciting. Yeah.
One of the things that really is exciting is the fact that we are seeing a platform that is very flexible and that we have that flexibility to work with other platforms. So there's multiple people doing traceability. We can add all of those into our platform.
For more information about Platinum Guild Circle, if we do want to become a partner, whether I'm a designer or a manufacturer or a retailer, how do I reach out? How do I sign up?
You can go to platinumguildcircle.com. You can find all of the information there, or you can reach out directly to myself or Margot.
Super. So I will put both the website and your emails in the description below of this video.
Perfect.
So anyone can reach out. So thank you so much, Phil. Thank you so much, Margot. It was a pleasure, and it was an eye-opening experience for me to see the innovation that's coming across to facilitate the retail and the experience end of jewelry as a consumer. It's really exciting. Thank you so much, and congratulations on this huge achievement.
Thanks, Ty. Just at the start, we are.